people see me a certain way, but they don't see me the real way. I don't think I'm terribly bright. So I consider myself an intellectual without the intellect. I feel that everything I do in life, I'm skimming the surface. So it's a weird feeling. And then I think, well, maybe I'm skimming the surface of things because they're already there in me, they're in my guts already. And the meditation thing is interesting for me because back when I was much younger in college, I was an acid head. And it was the time of Timothy Leary and Ken Kesey, and those were the things that called to me. But I did it for fun. I would be with my pals. I was in art school, and I had shoulder length hair, and I would take a very strong dose of acid and then drink about a half a bottle of whiskey with it. And to me, that was just so deep, and I was not skimming. But then I met this man who was, and I'm talking about this whole meditation thing that's in my head right now since we've done this. I met a man that was a Kundalini monk or whatever they were called. And he said to me, you know, Jamie, you're on your last cycle. And I thought, yeah, but I'm only 20. What are you talking about? And he said, I'm going to take you on a guided LSD tour. No alcohol, nothing else, no people, sort of what we're doing now. And he read the Tibetan Book of the Dead to me. And during this reading, someone was running water somewhere. And all I could feel was an endless ocean in front of me. And how these very small ripples of water would come and they would go. And there was no horizon. It was just this feeling of water coming and going out of eternity. So I never forgot that. You see, I'm speaking of it to this day. And whenever I have to turn to something to calm myself, I think about that incident. And then it was all night, and he gave me a brown paper bag, and he said, you're going to open this when the sun comes up. And in it was a geode. And the sun coming up hit the geode, but the geode was no longer a geode. It was like bubbles you blow in the air. All the rock and everything had turned into this just glorious experience. So I think about this and I realize that, you know, I'm so happy for the people that have faith. It must be such a comfort. I don't have that, but I have my imagination of there's no end. As I'm aging, which is the weirdest thing in the world. And nobody can tell you what it's like. They always say, don't get old. Only you can't be a sissy. Sissies can't get old. Everything's going to change. But nothing can be explained to somebody young. I mean, you just can't conceive of it when your friends start to die and your body can't do the same things and you get clumsy. But at the same time, and here I said I was skimming the surface, your thoughts get deeper. And my mother died recently. And she said to me, am I a good person? And I knew she wasn't. She wasn't a good person. And I said to her, of course you were. So, and that still makes me want to cry. But I still have tried to get rid of the meanness in her. That comes to me, of course. So I can be very, very mean and not terribly kind. And when I do that, I lose people. Part of me is my father, obviously, and he is the parent that's in me in a good way. My father was the youngest man to graduate from Fordham Law School. He was 22. He was a 100% intellectual. He, my favorite memory is today I'm an opera fanatic. I have been, and I look back to why, and it was really wonderful. I believe it was Saturday or Sunday, whenever the Met did their live radio thing, my father and I folded laundry together. So, that memory sticks with me. Although I don't like folding laundry now, but I still love opera. But my father made that happen. My father once said to me, Jamie, ice water runs in my veins. So I do have that in me. So I am not the warmest person in the world. People might think I am and say, oh, you're so warm and blah, 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 blah. But I'm not. And so Wayne and I do not have that kind of lovey-lovey, kiss-kiss kind of relationship, especially after so many years being together. Now, I love being with him. I love him more than anything in the world, anybody. And we're both here to take care of each other. And we know each other so well that, of course, I'll finish your sentencing, goes without saying, but say he has a job and I hear what's happened to him during the day, I get concerned. And if I think maybe he's going the wrong path, I'll tell him. And he's blatantly honest with me. I mean, he is like beyond. So, it's a loving relationship, but it's not a relationship of people in their 30s. So I love being with him. He is the most incredible person anybody could ever meet. He is pure love and pure heart. Commitment for me when I was growing in my 20s and 30s, into my early 30s, it didn't exist in other people while it existed in me, because all the people I was with were also finding themselves. I have lived this life of such incredible travel, wealth of people, being the boss, all based on my aesthetics. So, I have a master's degree in painting. So when I started working my way up in this world, and what I was doing was display windows, like for Saks Fifth Avenue and stuff, which was great because I learned about fashion. Just look at me, huh? And I was able to pull myself above the crowd because I had a master's degree and I spoke well. And I was not desperate for any of these jobs. So I ended up getting this job, and my boss said to me, okay, Jamie, you're wasting your time doing day-to-day. I want you to go anywhere in the world, let's say 4 or 5 times a year, and bring back celebrities and artists and, whatever that will help this company, and you're in charge. But the first piece of music is what probably every opera lover has heard, is La Boheme. And I was 18, I bought a record album of it, which to then it was so funny because it cost like $4, and back then that was like $40. And the minute I put that on, it was like, I've never heard anything so beautiful in my life. So, my interest in love grew from that at first. And most opera people will tell you that was their first thing. And they still love it to this day. But so in the music, I find comfort. Comfort, number one. And that comfort comes from a very deep place in my intellect and in my heart. I feel that I have to listen because it fills something that might be empty in me. I hate this word, but if it's transcendental to me, I don't have to shut my eyes. I mean, it's there. Like when I'm in the kitchen cooking, I love to put on opera. I put it on full blast, and it's just comforting me. It's saying, oh, this is so much fun to cook this meal and listen who I have singing for me. And I had a little studio in the basement in Minneapolis, and I started painting, and it was so rewarding. But the paintings weren't that good. How do you know if it's good? You know. It's part of being an artist. I mean, artists know when it stinks. So, and I have some in my studio that I think just stink. Other people might love it, but I don't like it. So, it's just, it's like if you hit a wrong note when you're playing the piano or something like that. But this is color and composition and emotion. So I get here and I have nothing to do. I'm completely retired. And we had COVID. So I have a huge studio in the house, which I turned into a studio. And I thought, well, Jamie, you might as well just try it because everybody here is an artist. And so it's okay. Nobody cares. They don't care if you paint a lousy coyote or you paint a masterpiece. Nobody cares. Just be an artist like everybody else. So I started painting, and it was as if all that time in between had disappeared, and I remembered how to paint. For me, painting is meditation. Now, I might have a theme that I'm trying to do. I just did a whole series of children that survived the concentration camps. So what I did is I looked these people up, I followed their lives, how long they lived, and then I had their stories as children in the camps. So I did 7 paintings of young children. And the emotion this gives to people I don't know, people on Facebook or the internet, whatever, they write me this stuff and say, my God, you have moved me deeply. So like doing the painting for the opera singer, that's what moves me. That's what I do. So all of my paintings, and most of my paintings before last year, were of gay heroes that nobody knew about. Like there was one French guy who had killed somebody, and he went to court and he found God while he was in prison, and the French people loved him. They wanted to make him a saint. And the church said no, and they guillotined him. So I did a painting of him, and it's one of my favorite paintings. But then I did a painting of Salminio, who was murdered for being gay. And I portrayed him as a Christ figure, but I did all the gory stuff around him, his body, the knives, everything. So that's where I'm at now. I'm not painting now. I don't want to. I don't have it in me right now. I have nothing I want to say. I look around and people do landscapes and all that. And so I did a landscape. It was beautiful, I say modestly. And it still had my style, but it was a landscape. Not like any landscape I had ever seen. So, it's weird. It's a growing thing. There's a song from Sunday in the Park with George called Finishing the Hat. And, it's all about that. And all that whole show is about that. And it opens up with the guy playing George Seurat, a blank canvas. First words out of his mouth. And then it leads into what it becomes and what it's like to face a blank canvas. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. And in Finishing the Hat, he sings, this hat isn't right. Just like I was saying about hitting a wrong note. And I have to finish the hat. to make this a masterpiece. So I'll be painting and Wayne will say, come on, let's go. And I'll say to him, Wayne, I'm finishing the fucking hat. Go by yourself. It's sort of like that old sort of writing the Irish believed in for a long time, where they would do seances and they would write books and just let their hands roam freely. And I think the woman, William Butler Yeats, was one of the poets that followed this. I can't remember, there's a name for it. And there's a woman that, founded the whole thing. And that's what it's like when I paint. I don't know. I just let it just come out. And then when I start getting to the details, I focus on the detail, but it's just coming out. And people say I have such a unique style, they would know my paintings in a second. And that just is, it's me. They're looking at me. I love all things beautiful. People, art, books, landscapes, nature. I love all things beautiful. And in French, that would be j'aime tout qui est le sens qui ressemble tout le monde de beauté. So I was basically saying I love everything in the world that's beautiful. So that's it. As I scratch my beard. Okay.